Kolbrin Bible, Book 5, Chapter 33. Myth or Reality, Part 2. The whole chapter might retell the myth of Osiris, Isis, Horus, Set, but the name for Isis doesn't match. MAN 3329. When men began to build places to dwell in and to grow things, they were troubled by men who came out of the wilderness. These were a people ruled by women, and though the men were small in stature, the women who ruled were tall and lean. Their only weapons were such as could be thrown from afar. But they had shields made of hide woven in a manner which caused anything coming against them to become entangled. Such were the men who came out of the wilderness and the wild places there, strong men and hairy. MAN 3330. The queen of these people was not as the other women, for she was good to look upon. Besides being a great huntress, she was fairer than the other women, even more fair than the woman of Egypt, who put all others to shame. Her name was Neth, and I know of no man who has knowledge of her father. Perhaps she was an undying one, who was always there, though I cannot believe there are any such beings. Yet, even in these days, there is a race of men beyond the mountains, whose span of life is thrice that of other men. Chapter 33, verses 29 and 30. Notice the future wife, an invader or leader called Neth. It talks that she might be an immortal, but he doubts it, and then mentions that there is a race of man in the mountains whose age is thrice that of other men. Remember, she came from the north. In Book 5, Chapter 31, I follow some clues and talk of the land in what is now the Ukraine. The Dneiper Donets Culture that's theorized. There's only a little bit of archaeological evidence right now, but this is only a theory. We have no clear name for any mountains, and there are many mountains to the north. Greece, Kiev mountains are to the north, plus the Carpathian Mountains border the region. One might ask, why not Mesopotamia? Well, the main reason is the reference north of Egypt and mountains. Mesopotamia is a mud plain. It also lacks forest, and the description clearly says from out of the wilderness. The shields were of hide, something never seen in Egypt and likely not in Mesopotamia either. And then to a leader being a woman. Books 5, Chapter 31, verses 5 through 18. Motherland was ruled by the Queen of Light. Mentioned some of the lesser gods stayed there. God's land, Motherland, is beyond the land of Pontus. If you travel from Egypt, you would need to travel beyond Pontus. In other words, to the north. Chapter 31 mentions people coming from the east. Well, the Ukraine would be northeast of Egypt. Punt in Roman times was region in Anatolia on the border of the Black Sea. The land mentioned refers to a flood in two stages. The south part is lost first. Could this be why the lesser gods were protected by the Lady of Light in temples? Refugees? Eventually they flee and are dispersed because of a second flood. This could be when the Black Sea grew in size, because of the Mediterranean overflowing due to the volcano exploding like Thera is thought to have done. By the way, isn't it assumed the Bible floods you can find the Ark on Mount Ararat near Turkey and the Russia border to a land called Ankita? If Pontus is Punt and Ankita sounds like Anatolia, then it could be this region. Plus, we have the place called Göbekli Tepe that is still being excavated. This is in Anatolia, far from a big body of water. Wouldn't a culture that was just destroyed want to be as far away from the danger while trying to recover? Then we have Book 4, Chapter 13. It refers to a war, then a natural disaster, a flood. A high priest survived with 7 of his followers and 110 men and families. Verse 28 mentions Osiris traveled from the north with 7 companions. Book 4, Chapter 13, verse 12 ends with coming to Lebeth, located among the high cliffs near the edge of the wide plain. Many died, and this is when the survivors begin to believe in mummification. After losing so many people, the survivors felt God abandoned them. It was the leaders that showed how a man could die and come back using herbs. So the people believed the loved ones are not gone. In verse 29, it mentions Osiris met the woman, but does not say they fought, and later he adopts her as a sister. Eventually they get married and have a son, Hori. Osiris, after death, was mummified to assure the population that the divine essence he had would not leave the mortal world. This is mentioned in verses 33-24. In this chapter, it says mummification had been only for a few, but that had changed. Verse 33:27.